Happy Aquarius season. I am back with the 10 movies that I am recommending that you watch during Aquarius season. So let me share my screen and pull up the PowerPoint presentation. So the first movie is called Grand Canyon. And this movie is rather old. A lot of these movies that I'm going to be suggesting are from the 80s and 90s because I'm an old head. So I'm in my 40s, so forgive me. But I feel that some of the best movies were made prior to 2000. And a lot of the movies nowadays that are released just aren't that great. So I believe that we've really basically have seen the best of the best in terms of filmmaking because things are just going downhill in all types of areas. So, Grand Canyon, according to IMDb, revolved around six residents from different backgrounds whose lives intertwine in modern day Los Angeles. At the center of the film is the unlikely friendship, that's the Aquarian theme, of two men from different races and classes brought together when one finds himself in jeopardy in the other's rough neighborhood. So as you can see, Danny Glover's in the film, Alfre Woodard, Steve Martin, Kevin Kline. I forget this woman's name. Let me go back and see. Her name is Mary McDonald, I believe. Yeah, Mary McDonald. And they all do a stellar job. Like they all, and this chick right here, she plays this really good role. And it's one of those films where it's really about the dialogue, but there's also some spiritual themes, namely in the form of synchronicity. So um it's really like it has some deep themes in it, and it's one of those quirky movies. It has some funny moments, but it also has some serious moments. There's some surprises and shocks, which is very Aquarian. And this movie will get you to thinking. So check it out if you haven't seen it. And the interesting thing is, I'm a big time movie buff, but I haven't seen this movie until this year. So I saw this movie, I think, right at the beginning of January, and I loved it. And this movie was released in 1991, and I had never seen it. So one day I was just looking for a movie to watch, and I was like, let me just check this out. And I really enjoyed it. So if you're into movies that, make you feel good, especially at the end, and give you like some type of hope or, that inspire you in some type of way and, you know, get you to thinking, check out this movie because it's really good. All right, the next movie, Idiocracy. Now, this is a very Aquarian film because it deals with futuristic themes. It also deals with like living in a technocracy, which is very Aquarian. So, Idiocracy was released in 2006, and according to IMDb, Private Joe Bowers, the definition of average American, is selected by the Pentagon to be the guinea pig for a top secret hibernation program. Forgotten, he awakes 5 centuries in the future. He discovers a society so incredibly dumbed down that he's easily the most intelligent person alive, and he's not even that bright. So this film is hilarious. It's real goofy. As you can see, Terry Crews is in it. He plays the president of the United States, which should tell you how crazy this movie is. How just goofy and off the wall. But there's a lot of truth in it because if you think about how society is today and where it's headed, we are living in a dumbed down society. Um, People just seem to be getting dumber. People are becoming addicted to technology and TV screens and their cell phones and all that type of stuff. It's been like that for a while. This movie just, put brings it up a few notches. I mean, it exaggerates things, but basically it's showing how things can really transpire in the future. They even have microchipping in the movie, GMOs, everybody is just all, stuck on corporate, like corporations run everything. Like Starbucks becomes like a strip club. It's crazy. So if you haven't seen this movie, check it out, because it's funny, but it will also open your eyes, especially if you're like into like conspiracy theories, and like, or if you're into the truth movement and all that type of stuff. Check this movie out. But if you are, you probably already heard of it, or maybe even seen it. Next film, Have Plenty. Now this is a low budget film that came out in the 90s, and it came out in 1997. And a lot of people may not have seen this film because it really didn't get much publicity. It didn't get much notoriety, but I think it's a really nice film. It will leave you with warm feelings. If you're into films about like friendships and how, just the different dynamics between friends and the conflicts, and if you're into movies that are unconventional and quirky, independent films, check this movie out. It's a romantic comedy, and it's really, really good. I love this movie. I like to watch it at least once a year. It also has a holiday theme because it takes place during Christmas. So, according to IMDb, Lee Plenty is an almost broke would-be novelist, and Haviland Savage is rich and very beautiful, and his friend. When she invites him to her home for New Year's Eve, they start a romance. So, as you can see, Hill Harper is in it. Now, he doesn't play a big role in it, but the role he plays is hilarious. And I always had a thing for Hill Harper. I think he's cute, and I like his acting ability. But yeah, he's a treat in the film, and everybody does a really good job in terms of acting. Like I said, it's quirky, it's funny. There's some moments where you kind of like, oh wow, damn. So check this film out if you've never seen it. So moving along, They Live. So I chose They Live because it has futuristic themes. Also, it deals with aliens. So let me just read what IMDb IMDb says. So a drifter discovers a pair of sunglasses that allow him to wake up to the fact that aliens have taken over the Earth. So aliens, that's that Aquarian theme, also futuristic themes, and also where he becomes awake. That's very Aquarian as well, becoming awake, becoming enlightened. So it's like he can see for real. He sees the truth. So that's very Aquarian. And this movie has some grains of truth in it. So again, if you're into like conspiracy theories and all that, you probably already know about this movie. You might have seen this movie. If you haven't, and you're into that sort of thing, if you're into like dystopian future movies and things dealing with like living in a technocracy and all that type of stuff, futuristic, check this movie out because it's pretty dope. And it features that actor. Well, he wasn't really an actor. He was a wrestler back in the 80s. WWE or WWF wrestling was huge back in the 80s, and he was one of the top wrestlers. He was Rowdy Roddy Piper. So I remember, he was one of the big ones back in the day, and he came out actually saying that he was abused while he was in the industry, sexually abused, because he started out as a young dude. I think he started out wrestling like maybe at the age of 16, 17 or whatever like that. So yeah, he came out talking about telling his truths, which is very Aquarian. All right, moving along. Next movie is Gia. And I chose Gia because Gia is a story it's based off of a true story about a model named Gia, and she was an Aquarius, and she died. She died from AIDS because she was a heroin addict, and she got to the point where she was shooting up. So this was an HBO film, so it wasn't released in major theaters, but it's really good. And it captures the 80s, especially the fashion industry 80s, so perfectly. And I've always been into like fashion, not really anymore. but I used to have it like love looking at fashion magazines and stuff and runway models and all that. I was like heavily into like the supermodels and stuff. So she was considered to be like one of the first supermodels, and she was highly sought after. But she was an Aquarius, born on January 29th. And you know what I say about that 29? That can be very challenging. Basically, you're born with some heavy karma. So she was very Aquarian in that she was a rebel, she was a lesbian, she was just basically walked to the beat of her own drum. She didn't let the modeling industry dictate to her how she should be, how she should act. She was very disruptive. So yeah, but check this movie out. It's very touching. The cinematography is just beautiful. As you can see with this one shot right here, this is one of my favorite scenes where she's like really, fiending for some heroin, and it's during like a photo shoot, and she has like, that's like a Da Vinci gown, it's all expensive and whatever like that, and she's fiending for some heroin real bad, fiending for that smack, and she tells this motorcycle driver who's also posing for the photo shoot, she's like, I'm gonna give you some money if you just take me to get a hit. And she climbs on the back of that motorcycle, and they go tearing off through the city into Jersey, I think, or whatever. But yeah, good film. It will keep you on the edge of your seat. It's really like a chick flick, but guys will enjoy it too. So if you got your man, ladies, and you want him to watch a movie with you, sit him down and put Gia on, because I think he'll enjoy it as well. All right, moving along. Cloak and Dagger. Now, again, I'm taking y'all way back. Let me see when this movie came out. Here, no, that's the old one. Okay, 1984. See, this is what I'm talking about. 1984 was one of my favorite years, hands down, especially for films. So many great films were released in 1984. Again, I got to look and see what was going on transit-wise up in the sky back then, because it was just like so many major blockbuster films were released in 1984. This was one of the great films that was released, but it didn't get much shine, in my opinion. It was very much like a kid film, but adults can enjoy it too. So this is one of the films I love growing up. I love movies dealing with adventure, but also dealing with like, technology and stuff. And back then Atari was big. We didn't have like Nintendo in the early 80s. We didn't have like, Nintendo came out like in 86, 87, but this was like 84, and Atari had been out by then, but people were still rocking with Atari. So Cloak and Dagger came out, and it was this film dealing with this video game called Cloak and Dagger that had this like government spy secrets on it and stuff. So this boy had this video game. Let me just read from IMDb. So a young boy and his imaginary friend end up on the run while in possession of a top secret spy gadget. Dabney Coleman is in it. If you don't know who he is, he's this old school actor. He's really funny. Um, but what's Aquarian about it, of course, is the electronic theme, the video game. Also, just where it's like there's some surprising moments. There's some shocking moments that you don't see coming, which is very Aquarian as well. So check out this film. Again, it's one of my favorites from 1984. 1984 was one of the best movies in film, in my opinion. All right, moving along. As Good as It Gets. Now, I chose this because it has a Aquarian theme in a few areas. So, As Good as It Gets was released in 1997. Wow, I didn't realize it was that old. And it stars Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, who else? Greg Kinnear, I believe that's his name. Yeah. Cuba Gooding Jr., he plays a really good role. He plays like a side role that's really supporting role that's really good. And who else? That's pretty much it. And Jill the dog as Verdell. The dog is so cute. I'm not even really a dog person, but I love this dog in this movie. But what's Aquarian about it is the associations, the connections, and the friendship that blossoms between Jack Nicholson's character and Helen Hunt. But it's a very strained connection at first because Jack Nicholson's character is such an asshole, and he tells it like how he sees it, and he's also this obsessive compulsive type of guy. So I would say that he might be an Aquarius sun, his character, but have a Scorpio moon maybe in the sixth house, and that would deal with that obsessive compulsiveness. So he is like a real jerk asshole, and he's like that with everybody, including his neighbor. So he has this gay neighbor played by Greg Kinnear. So the gay theme is very Aquarian as well. And you really feel for the neighbor played by Greg Kinnear because he runs into some problems. And his neighbor played by Jack Nicholson doesn't make things easier for him, even though he helps him out, which would be very sixth house moon. But yeah, you got to see this movie because it's really good if you haven't seen it. I'm sure a lot of my viewers have seen it. I'll say that it can be very slow in some parts, but it's a good movie to watch like on a Sunday afternoon when you don't really have much to do and you just lay on the couch chilling. So add this to your list of movies to watch during Aquarius season because it's pretty cool. Next movie, Dolores Claiborne. So I chose Dolores Claiborne because it's just this hardcore, cold film. And Kathy Bates plays the lead character. She plays Dolores Claiborne. And let me just read. Wait a minute. I tried to pull it up. Here it is. Dolores Claiborne. This was released in 1995. Now, a big city reporter travels to the small town where her mother has been arrested for the murder of an elderly woman that she works for as a maid. So, Kathy Bates, who's a very good actress, she plays the lead character, Dolores Claiborne, and she has this daughter that, you know, her daughter is very depressed. Dolores Claiborne really isn't a happy person either, and she, you know, could be an Aquarius in this film, you know, because she's very cold. She has this detached persona, very matter of fact, not nurturing of a mother. So, you know, she's part of the reason why her daughter is the way she is. And not saying that all Aquarian women aren't nurturing and stuff. I'm just saying, you know, some of the not so positive traits of Aquarius could be where, you know, you're not very nurturing as a mother. So, or very sensitive. And Dolores Claiborne certainly wasn't sensitive. Now, also what's very Aquarian is how she turned things around with respect to her husband, who was this abusive asshole, but he was also a straight up pervert, which is very Aquarian as well, because Aquarius is a sign of perversion. So a woman that has Sun in Aquarius, she is at risk of attracting a pervert because the Sun deals with significant men in a person's life, so including a husband. So this film will also, you know, it has some twists and turns and surprises and, you know, shocks and stuff, which again is very Aquarian. So check out Dolores Claiborne if you haven't seen it. It's a really good film. It's based off of a Stephen King book. So it's really good. Matter of fact, I think I might watch it tonight while I'm doing some work. All right, next film. Wouldn't you know it? Of course, I got to include the Terminator because the Terminator deals with a dystopian future. It deals with a technocracy, basically, you know, a society where technology rules. And in my opinion, it is very telling of what could go down in the future. Not exactly. It is exaggerated in some respects, but again, this is another dystopian future type film that has grains of truth in it because we are in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, and we're coming upon that 5G technology, and some people are really concerned about the effects of 5G, and some people are very concerned about AI having too much power and all that type of stuff. So a lot of people, I'm sure, a lot of my viewers, you've seen the Terminator, but you might want to watch it again just for Aquarius season. I have the DVD. I have a lot of these movies that discussing. Um, Now, according to IMDb, a seemingly indestructible android is sent from 2029 to 1984 to assassinate a waitress whose unborn son will lead humanity in a war against the machines, while a soldier from that war is sent to protect her at all costs. So a soldier is sent from the future. Oh, this movie, the storyline, the plot is genius. And that is Aquarian, to be genius, inventive. Like, you didn't see nothing like this until 1984. So this is what I mean about 1984. This is another film released in 1984. As you can see, I'm getting hyped because I love 1984. 1984 was the year. And it was like Terminator came out, and it changed people's perspective, and it was so fascinating to watch, but it was scary too, but you couldn't look away. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was at the height of his career back then. He was in so many movies back then: Commando, Raw Deal, Terminator, Running Man, Predator. Oh, I love Predator. Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the man back in the day, and he had a little sex appeal. I ain't gonna lie, he was on, ripped and everything like that. You could see in this picture, but he was never really that great of an actor because he's Austrian. He had that thick accent and all that stuff, but it didn't matter because he played these roles, these tough guy roles, and he was perfect for the Terminator with that thick accent because he had to play the role of an android. So he played a really good android, and I don't know if some of my younger viewers haven't seen the Terminator. The Terminator 2 is really good too, but just the storyline, and Reese, who plays the soldier who comes from the future to help Sarah Connor. Oh my God. Like, I just gotta stop here because I could just go on and on about the Terminator, especially at the end. The end is so, like, I always said the end of that the Terminator was so eerie and so unsettling. When she drives off into the desert, she's in Mexico, I believe, and the little boy says, "There's a storm coming," and then she just looks and she says, "I know," and then she starts driving away in her Comanche Jeep or whatever. Like, oh, okay, let me. And last but not least, ATL. Now, this is one of the more recent movies, but still, this came out quite a while ago, 2006. And I love, love, love this movie. And it has an Aquarius theme because it deals with four friends. Let me just read this from IMDb. So, as four friends prepare for life after high school, different challenges bring about turning points in each of their lives. The dramas unfold and resolve at their local roller skating rink, Cascade. Now, this is a movie that you could watch with your whole family because it really doesn't have any like really inappropriate scenes or whatever like that. It does have some suggestive scenes and stuff, but I like watching this with my children, and it has some really good messages. It has some good, the moral of the story is really good. It's about friendships and the conflicts that can arise, and loyalty and all that type of stuff. T.I. does a really good job. Jason Weaver's in it. I forget what that brother's name is on the left, and that other dude. I like the other dude that played Esquire. And the beautiful Lauren London is in it. Those twins were in it. And that other chick that plays the twin. Let me see. What's her name? That chick, and she plays in the Tyler Perry movies, but she was in it too. So that movie is such a treat. Why can't I find her name? They don't even have her listed, I don't think. Damn. Monica's in it too. She plays the waitress. She's only in a bit cameo part. But Oh my God, this movie I love. And yeah, Big Booty Judy. I'm reading that part. Like, there's just so many parts of the movie that's like very relatable to how it was when you were growing up with your friends, being at the pool, like in this scene and all that type of stuff. Them clown and talk about Esquire, you ashy, all that type of stuff. So yeah, if you haven't seen ATL, but I'm sure a lot of my viewers have, check out ATL. It's a really good feel good friend type of film. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Let me know what movies you think have a strong Aquarian theme that you would recommend watching during Aquarius season. And if you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. Peace and many blessings, and I'll be back with some more videos.